Today I'm going to show you how to make an entire week's worth of meals in under 2 hours. If you follow every single step from start to finish of what I'm showing you today, you will end up with 5 fresh, hot, delicious dinners, 2 kinds of lunches, a breakfast that's grab-and-go friendly, and the yummiest healthy snack to take with you wherever you want to go. My name is Cassie Joy Garcia. I am the New York Times bestselling author of The Most Clever Way to Meal Prep You've Ever Seen. Ready to go. Little kit. We're breaking up today's video for you in 3 sections. The first step is the plan. Next, we're going to talk about prep. I'm going to show you every step. And then third, talk about how to serve each component. When we're looking at our plan, there are 2 important pieces to consider. And when I'm building a plan for this week's worth of menus, I like to zero in on a couple key ingredients, which you'll see today are chicken and beef. And I also like to zero in on a method. And today we're going to talk about the slow cooker. A lot of these meals, a lot of these dinners are very slow cooker friendly. You're going to love it. Are you ready for this week's menu? Let's walk through it. So Monday, we're going to be making a healing chicken soup. Oh my gosh, this soup is so good and so good for you. Tuesday, we're gonna have chicken teriyaki bowls with a steamed broccoli, fresh white rice, and a homemade teriyaki sauce that's gonna knock your socks off. Wednesday, we're making a shredded beef chili. It is my favorite chili on God's green earth, and I'm gonna serve it with a really yummy, easy cornbread. Thursday, we're having a King Ranch casserole that is so easy to make and prep in advance. You're just gonna pop it in the oven on the day. And then Friday, we're ending the week with the yummiest barbacoa tacos. Don't be intimidated, I'm making barbacoa easier for you than ever. For lunches for the week, we're going to have 2 kinds of lunches so you don't get bored. The first lunch we're gonna have are gonna be these really yummy bacon avocado turkey wraps. And the second lunch is a really easy tuna salad that we're gonna have salad style. For our breakfast for the week, we're having a complete meal, grab-and-go friendly, in these little bites called butternut squash egg bites. There's butternut squash, there's egg, there's bacon. It's everything you want. Lastly, our snack for the week are going to be these salted peanut butter chocolate chip energy balls that are so yummy, and I like having those on hand for when I want a sweet treat, but I don't want to overindulge. The second part of our plan that's very, very important if you want to get this prep in as short amount of time as possible is to figure out how long you're in the kitchen. What are you going to put in the oven first? What should you start chopping first? Should these ingredients marry up with the other ones in the other dishes? And the good news is I've done all that thinking for you. And yes, it was a lot of work, but I want to give it to you. Follow this plan and it is going to make your time in the kitchen so fast and easy. Down below, you'll find not only your entire prep day broken out for you by numbered list of what to do first, but you're also going to find a complete shopping list for everything I'm showing you today. Alrighty, let's jump into our prep. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take about 4 pounds of chicken. You can use chicken breast, you can use chicken tenders. It doesn't matter. That's a secret for you. I am a recipe developer and I have been for over a decade, and it actually doesn't really matter. If you're going to shred the chicken, it could be thighs, breast, or tenders. I say buy what's on sale. Buy what you can find in bulk. So I've got 4 of that going into a pot. This chicken we're going to pre-cook and shred, and this is going to be used in both the teriyaki chicken bowls and the King Ranch casserole. I want to pre-cook it so that those are smooth sailing for later in the week. I'm just covering them with water, put it on the stove, and let it simmer for about 20 minutes until they shred nicely with a couple forks. Next up for our strategic kitchen prep, we want to get stuff in the oven. So I'm going to go ahead and bake our bacon, which will be used on the turkey bacon wraps for lunch for 3 of the days. And I'm going to get started our butternut squash, which will be used in our breakfast egg muffin. Both the butternut squash and the bacon are going to bake at 375. The butternut squash will bake for about 45 minutes, really until tender. And the bacon, we're going to fill this whole sheet pan in one even layer for 20 minutes until crispy. The butternut squash, my tip for these is to cut them in half, hollow out the seeds, and then put them face down on either a baking sheet or in a big casserole dish like this, and that'll help preserve the steam. And then the bacon, we just want to make one nice even layer. This is the fastest, easiest, mess-free, best mess-free way to make bacon. Into the oven at 375 for about 45 minutes for that squash and about 20 minutes for the bacon. Next up on our prep, we're going to pre-make the cornbread that we will serve with that shredded beef chili on Wednesday of this week. I like to pre-make cornbread because that way it's already ready to go. I'm going to give you a tip at the end of this video on the best way to serve this so it's still fresh and piping hot. It's going to bake in the oven for 30 to 35 minutes at 350 degrees. With 1/3 cup of butter melted already in my bowl, I'm going to add about 1.5 cups of cornmeal, 1 cup of gluten-free flour, 1.5 cups of whole milk. I've got a tablespoon of baking powder in here, a teaspoon of fine sea salt. I'm going to add a 1/4 cup of honey and a large egg and beat that until it's smooth. Go ahead and butter up your favorite cast iron skillet. Spoon the batter in. Spread it out, and then we'll bake this at 350 for 30 to 35 minutes. Our Tuesday night dinner is a chicken teriyaki bowl, and I like to make my own teriyaki sauce, and it's very, very easy to do. I use an entire jar of coconut aminos, which is a soy-free kind of a soy sauce alternative, but it's a little bit sweet. It makes the perfect teriyaki sauce. We're gonna reduce this in a skillet for about 10 minutes, and then add the rest of our ingredients, whisk it up, and then store it in a little mason jar for later in the week. And if you have a favorite store-bought teriyaki sauce, feel free to use that instead of making your own. You can absolutely skip this step if you prefer. First, in a large skillet over medium to high heat, I'm going to add 8 ounces of coconut aminos, a whole jar. And then to a jar, I'm going to do 1/2 teaspoon of dried ginger and garlic powder. I'm going to add about 1/2 teaspoon of fish sauce. This is optional, but I think it's yummy. 2 teaspoons of sesame oil, and then a tablespoon of rice wine vinegar. While those coconut aminos have been bubbling, they've gotten nice and thick. Once they're thick, add them to the jar. Give it a quick shake, and this will store for about a week. Moving on to the next stage of our prep, we are going to start the gravy for the King Ranch casserole. I tell you, trust this process. Keep doing the steps in the order that I tell you to do them. We're gonna build this gravy first because it needs to cook, and I want it to be cooled enough to assemble and also stick in the fridge later. So that's why we're doing that. And then we'll move on to more chopping. We're gonna start off by thinly slicing 2 red bell peppers. I have a small yellow onion that I'm also gonna thinly slice. And then I have about 2 cloves of garlic that I'm going to mince. In a medium to large size skillet, add some olive oil over medium-high heat and go ahead and wilt these veggies. While my cutting board's out, let's thinly slice that jalapeno. Then add a 14-ounce can of diced tomatoes, a 1/4 cup of flour, 1 cup of heavy cream, and then 2 cups of chicken broth to this skillet. This is going to reduce down into a really nice thick gravy. 2 tablespoons of chili powder, give a little bit of spice. I'm going to add a teaspoon of ground cumin, a teaspoon of sea salt, and then about 1/2 teaspoon of cracked pepper, and then stir that and let it come to a bubble. Then you're going to add your jalapenos. Alrighty, so while that gravy for the King Ranch casserole simmers, I'm going to go ahead and assemble our healing chicken soup, which is going to be, we're prepping this as a bag that we're going to pour right into our slow cooker on the day of. You could definitely pre-make this meal all the way in advance, but one of the things that I like to do with my style of meal prep is do all of the work, the chopping, the measuring, so that we can make a hot, fresh meal when you're ready for it. So I have this cute little bag stand and my gallon-sized Ziploc there, and now we're gonna get started on chopping all these veggies. This soup, I'm gonna store it, all the components, in a meal bin. And in this bin, it's going to be very strategic what we put in here. I'm gonna put the bag of everything that will go into the slow cooker at the beginning of the day, and so you can cook that on high for 4 hours or on low for 8 hours, and it's everything that's gonna stand up to that amount of time. The sweet potato, the celery, you name it, the chicken, all of that goes in, and then into this bin, I will put the slow cooker bag, I'll put the ingredients that we'll add at the end. I'll walk you through all of those steps along with the broth, the can of coconut milk. You're gonna love this soup. It's so good. We're gonna start off by cutting 2 medium-sized sweet potatoes into little 1-inch cubes. I like to peel mine first, sometimes. Then I'm going to cut up 1 small onion, dice it. I'm also gonna need a tablespoon of fresh grated ginger. Go ahead and pull off some fresh thyme, about a teaspoon worth, and add all of that into one of your freezer bags with your chicken, 2 pounds or so. To that, I'm going to go ahead and add in 2 teaspoons of turmeric, a bay leaf, sea salt, and pepper. Now I'm going to roughly chop my kale, put that into a separate bag. For storing this healing chicken soup, what I recommend doing is getting some sort of a bag or a basket or my favorite meal bin, so that all these ingredients can be kept together. So we have the base of our soup all put together in its own bag. The raw chicken is in here, our chopped vegetables, and all of the spices. I'm gonna stick this in here, and then on Monday, when I'm ready to make this soup, if you make it on a Monday, I'm gonna pour this bag into the slow cooker first with 5 cups of broth, so that's about 1.5 of these containers. And then once that's done cooking, at the very end, right before I serve it, we'll add our kale. So I went ahead and chopped that and put it in a separate bag. That goes in next, to which we will add our coconut milk and fresh lemon juice, which I buy fresh squeezed lemon juice from the grocery store. There you go. Ready to go. Little kit. Now we're going to move on to assembling and baking our egg muffins. So these are going to be really fast and easy. We already have our pre-baked butternut squash, which is nice and soft and cool to the touch. It's been out of the oven for a little bit. I have my cooked bacon, and then we're just going to add some whisked eggs. It's going to be so easy. We're going to use 2 full cookie or cupcake tins, and I'm going to use some spray oil. You can use butter, but I'm going to spray oil these just really quickly to help make sure nothing sticks. All 24 of these, I'm going to add a scoop of butternut squash to each one, and then beat our eggs, pour those over top, sprinkle on top with bacon. We're going to bake them at 350 degrees until they set. It's going to be anywhere between 20 and 30 minutes. Just kind of keep an eye on them. And then we're going to let them cool before we transfer them to the container for the fridge. We're going to start off by adding a scoop of this softened butternut squash into our already greased muffin tins. Beat 18 eggs together, and then pour that over top of the squash. I like to add my salt and pepper at this point. Roughly chop some of that bacon you already cooked and add a generous spoonful over top of each one. They will bake at 375 for about 25 to 30 minutes until firm. Once they're cooled, pop them out and store them in layers separated by parchment paper. So now I am shredding our chicken that will be used for the chicken teriyaki bowls and that King Ranch chicken. And when it comes to knowing when your chicken is done, I cooked mine on the stove. You could cook yours in the Instant Pot if you want, or even your slow cooker. I just want to stick a couple forks in there, and then when they start to separate the meat really easily, it's done. It's really hard to overcook shredded chicken, so I wouldn't fret too much about the exact timing, but this took me about 35 minutes to finish cooking it. I'm shredding all this together. Half of it I'm going to put in this container, and this will be used for our chicken teriyaki dinner, which we will have on Tuesday night. And then on Thursday is when we're going to have that King Ranch casserole, and I'm going to go ahead and totally assemble that casserole, cover it with foil, so all we have to do on Thursday is put it right in the oven, and it's going to cook up for us. First, I'm going to take half of that chicken and put it into a separate bowl that we will have later for our chicken teriyaki bowls. To assemble our King Ranch casserole, put about 6 corn tortillas on the bottom of a casserole dish. I like to use a 9x13. Add about 2 cups of that shredded chicken, half of your gravy. We're just going to do 2 big layers here. Spread it out. And then 2 cups of shredded cheese. And then you're going to repeat that process, cover it with foil, and save it. All right, now we're going to move on to our 2 beef dinners. And if you're familiar with my 2 best-selling books, I have Cook Once, Eat All Week, and Cook Once Dinner Fix. What I like to do is organize those dinners. That meal prep strategy is organized around dinner series. And this is a great example of a 2-dinner series. So when you're going to the store, this is how to save money. Is when you go to the store, if you have a bulk store area near you, like a Costco or a Sam's, go see what great proteins are on sale. And maybe you'll come across some sort of a beef roast. And that would be a great opportunity to do what I'm about to show you. Is I'm taking these 2, get 2 3 to 5 pound. These are chuck roasts. You could really use any kind of a beef roast you want because these are slow cooker meals. So that means that they're all cut friendly. I'm going to buy essentially about 6 pounds of beef roast, and I'm going to divide it up into 2 dinners. We're going to do this delicious shredded beef chili with beans. Oh, it's so good. We're going to serve that with that cornbread. And then the second beef dinner we're going to make is slow cooker barbacoa, and it is one of my family's favorite meals. We serve it up in tacos. You're gonna love it. So what I'm gonna start doing first is the only fresh ingredients I need to chop for these 2, which I'm gonna do first, is an onion for the chili and then some garlic for the barbacoa. And then we're gonna cut this meat up into large pieces, put them into the bags, seal those so that they're ready for the slow cooker later in the week. I'm gonna start off by chopping up the onion for the chili, put that right into the bag, and then we're gonna cut up the beef. I have 2 huge roasts. I'm gonna chop up one, put it right into the barbacoa, and the other for the beef. To the barbacoa, I am going to add all of my spices. So I have a teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of ground pepper, Mexican oregano, about a tablespoon of that, a tablespoon of chili powder, half a teaspoon of cloves. I'm going to add in a 1/4 cup of apple cider vinegar and a 1/4 cup of fresh lime juice, 3 bay leaves, and then you're done. Pull it off the little bag stand, take out the air, and then I like to give it a little massage, and this is going to help the meat marinate. It's going to be so delicious. Finish off the meal bin with tortillas and your toppings. Now for the beef chili, we're going to go ahead and add in about 2 teaspoons of sea salt, 2 tablespoons of cumin. I like to add 4 tablespoons of chili powder to this. It's going to be so flavorful. Then 28 ounces of a crushed tomato, and then you're done. Seal it up. Put it into a meal bin with the beans, which we'll add towards the end, and then all of your other fun toppings. The last meal bin that we're going to assemble is for our teriyaki dinner, and in this one I've got our pre-cooked and shredded chicken. I'm just going to add that right in to my little handy meal bin, to which I'm going to add rice. I like to make my rice fresh night of because it's so fast and easy anyways, then it's fluffy. I went ahead and splurged for the pre-chopped and rinsed broccoli, so I'm going to add those in here, and I'm going to do a quick steam of those the night of, and then we have our pre-made teriyaki sauce. All of that goes into the meal bin together, and then this dinner is ready to roll. For the cornbread, which is out of the oven and cooled, what I've done, I want it to be cool to the touch before I put it into the fridge. I am going to just cover it with foil, and that's it. This is stored and ready to be enjoyed with that beef chili when we're ready for that later in the week. And I'll give you a tip and a little bit of how to rewarm this so it's nice and soft. Alrighty, so between prepping all of those dinners and before we get to lunch, I am going to prep one of my favorite condiments. This is just a easy, quick pickled onion. All I need is a purple onion. They call them red onions, but I take exception to that. Some apple cider vinegar and some black peppercorns to put in there for a little flavor. And then we're just gonna drop them all in a big mason jar. And over the days this week, they're gonna get brighter and brighter purple. They're gonna be so delicious. You can use them. I'm making them to use on those barbacoa tacos, but you can use them on anything. They keep really well. I'm gonna thinly slice this big red or purple onion and put it into a very large mason jar. Add in a little shake of peppercorns, about a teaspoon worth, and then mostly cover with apple cider vinegar. Give it a shake, and that's all you gotta do. All right, so we have prepped our dinners and our breakfast. Now we're gonna move on to prepping lunches. I'm gonna make 5 lunches for the week, one for each day of the work week, Monday through Friday, and I'm going to break it up so I don't get bored and I'm not eating the same thing every single day. I'm gonna do 2 kinds of lunches. I'm gonna make 3 servings of, it's essentially a BLT wrap, but we're gonna add turkey and we're gonna add avocado to that, so it's a blat wrap. We're gonna make 3 of those, and I'm gonna show you how to store those turkey, bacon, avocado wraps so that they don't get mushy. We're gonna use these really great tortillas and the lettuce, and it's all going in the same container together, and with a little strategy, you can actually store it so that everything remains nice and crisp and not soggy. So watch for that. And then the other meal that we're going to make is a tuna salad. It's a tuna salad, but today we're going to be using salmon because I goofed. And it turns out I only have canned salmon, not canned tuna. But that's how flexible recipes are. So just use what you've got. So we're gonna make this. This is my go-to canned fish recipe. We're gonna mix it up and I'm gonna serve it kind of like a little deli style, a little scoop on top of a bed of greens. So how we're making all this easier, the bacon we're gonna use in our wraps, you might remember we pre-cooked that and we split half of this bacon went into those butternut squash egg bites that we're gonna have for breakfast this week. And then the other trick is to, between these 2 kinds of lunches, I'm using this one lunch or salad style because that way we only have to buy 1 small container of greens and we're gonna use it up between these 5 meals. Let's get cooking. I'm gonna start off by slicing up my tomato to make these turkey bacon wraps. I highly recommend using a paper towel to separate the bacon from your tortilla from the lettuce. This will keep everything from getting soggy, and then you'll just remove it when you're ready to eat. On top of the lettuce goes our turkey, followed by our tomatoes, some really big, beautiful slices of that. You can add whatever you want here. I like some avocado. Sometimes I'll even add a little swipe of mayo. And then that's it. Plop it right into your container, top with salt, ready to go. These will keep for about 3 days and be really fresh. Now for the salad, we're going to make the salmon salad. We're going to go ahead and break up 2 cans worth of that salmon with our fork. And I like to add about 2 tablespoons worth of mayo. about a tablespoon of mustard, tablespoon or two of dill relish, followed by onion and garlic powder, salt and pepper, and then mash that up until it's nice and even. Chop up some beautiful lettuce greens. Look how fluffy and green these are. Put them into your containers. I'm going to make this twice for the week. And then using a cookie scoop, you're going to feel like the coolest lunch lady ever. Add that right on top, and they're ready to go. Now let's make our salted chocolate peanut butter energy balls. Into a food processor, we have 3/4 cup of cashews and 8 pitted dates, to which I'm going to add a whole cup of creamy peanut butter, 1/3 cup of collagen peptides, and then spoon that into a bowl, and I'm going to stir in about 1/2 cup of mini dark chocolate chips. Using a smaller cookie scoop, scoop those into balls, roll them with your hands, spread them out into your container. You can snack on these all week long, and then finish with a little bit of sea salt. We did it! We did our prep day! Congratulations! We made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dinners. Yum! We made 5 lunches, snacks for the week, and breakfast for the week. We even made cornbread. You go! What? This is going to be the best week ever because you have done so much work ahead of time. Future you is going to be so thankful for past you. My grocery bill, how much all of this costs. Are you ready for this? Such a weak drum roll. I spent $228 on all of these groceries. And y'all, I got organic produce wherever possible, grass-fed beef, organic chicken, all those things. I even sprung for the fancy cassava flour tortillas. And all of this breaks down to less than $5 per serving. That is so great. And this is going to feed my family, keep everybody so happy all week long. I hope you found this helpful, and I hope that it makes your week feel so much more doable. Don't forget, below you will find your prep sheet and your weekly shopping list. Those are free. Don't forget to grab them. Thanks for being here.